Hello, everyone. Now that you can hear me. I'm Pablo Damiani. I'm a head of practice at SOUTHWORKS. And today, I'm going to show you how we build the NFL Combine AI assistant that brings real-time AI insights to scouts and coaches during the NFL Combine event. So let me set the stage. The NFL Combine event is an annual event that brings scouts and coaches from all 32 NFL teams, and they evaluate the talent and performance of college players. The way they operate in the field is basically they have devices and Surface tablets with the NFL Combine app, and they navigate through the results of the different tests and drills. They get also player information. But this year, the NFL wanted to level up the game, bringing AI into the mix. And what we did, we implemented an AI assistant that has the capability of delivering AI insights in real time and enables the scouts and coaches to interrogate the data in a natural language conversational experience. So let me go ahead and show the app. OK, so here's the NFL Combine app, and I'm going to jump straight into the Copilot experience. And this is where coaches can actually ask questions in natural language and get real-time insights in natural language as well. So for example, I'm going to start by asking wideouts over 6 feet. So I'm simply asking for specific players in a certain position with 6 feet tall or more. And there we have the names of the players and their height. And I can ask a follow-up question. So something like compare their vertical jump results. So now the agent will go fetch the data from the vertical jump test and will compare their performance in that test for all these 3 players. So you can see the answer there in natural language. Let me show you another example. Who was the fastest player in 2025. This time we are asking for the speed test, the 40-yard dash specifically, and Maxwell Hurston was the fastest player. And because we also have access to historical data, we can actually compare his performance against top performers from previous years. So for example, compare with the fastest players from the last 5 years. And now the agent is going to fetch the relevant data. There we have the top 3 performers from the past 3 years. And Maxwell time was slightly behind this top performer, so he didn't make it, but was really close. Now let me show you how you can build something like this. Or even better, what we are going to do is we are going to build an application like this in the next 5 to 10 minutes from scratch. So let me show you my setup first. Here I am in the Azure portal. The very first thing that you'll notice is that we are using Azure Cosmos DB as the underlying data store. And we have JSON documents with the results of all of the tests. For example, here, this query, it's bringing this JSON document that it's the results of the dash 40 test. We also have Azure AI Foundry, which gives us access to all of the foundational models and all of the AI capabilities. And in the context of this project, I went ahead and already deployed a GPT model, in this case, GPT-401. And what I want to do here is I want to do a quick test. So I'm going to open the playground, and I'm going to do a really quick test to see how the model can understand the data structure and answer questions. So for that, I'm going to grab this JSON doc from Cosmos, and I'm going to paste it in the system message here in the system prompt. I'm going to tell the assistant, the model, this is your data. Paste the JSON document there. Apply the changes to the system prompt. And I can now ask something like top 5 performers in the 40 dash. This is, again, simply a quick test to see how the models can understand the data structure and give us answers to simple questions like this one. You can see that it was able to identify the player names, the positions, the jersey numbers, and of course, the results of the 40 dash. With this, let's go ahead and build an app. For that, I'm switching to Visual Studio Code. But instead of scaffolding the app in a traditional way, we are going to use GitHub Copilot, and more specifically, GitHub Copilot in agent mode. So I already have a workspace with my environment variable set pointing to the Cosmos DB instance that I showed before and the Azure OpenAI deployment. And let me show you the prompt. I want to start the request because it'll take a few minutes for Copilot to complete this. But let me hit run and zoom in here. So basically what I'm telling Copilot here is go fetch this URL, and I'll show you the URL in a second, and then complete my instructions that I provided in this tasks.txt file. I'm going to show the file in a second as well. First of all, let's go through this link. This is basically the semantic kernel repository in GitHub. And here's a very simple implementation of an agent that uses plugins to go fetch data from external data sources. And it's a very small snippet that I'm using that I'm providing Copilot to give a reference of the kind of agent that I want to implement. Let me show you the tasks or the instructions. And again, let me zoom in. What we are doing here, my instructions is fairly simple. Create an agent using the sample code that I provided in an agent.py file. Use the sample data in the sample JSON file to understand the data structure. I didn't show you that. Let me show you the sample JSON. This is the same JSON document from Cosmos DB that I showed you before. Let me go back to the tasks and zoom in again. And then create a plugin with basically a set of queries to Cosmos DB in order to be able to answer questions such as who ran the 40 dash in less than 4.5 seconds. Last but not least, I'm telling Copilot to use my existing environment variables to configure the clients, more specifically the client to Cosmos DB and the client to Azure OpenAI. So let's see how Copilot is doing. Apparently, it's already finished. Here's the agent.py file that I'm going to keep. But before walking through the code, let me show you the reasoning behind this agent mode in Copilot, because it's pretty impressive. So it was able to, first of all, retrieve the content from this external link. It was able to understand my instructions in this txt file. It went through the sample JSON file to understand the data structure and understand the kind of queries and query patterns that we can execute against Cosmos. Here we have the list of environment variables that I have and also the requirements, which tell the kind of dependencies that we want to use. And in the implementation, let me zoom in here because this is really cool. So here you can see the kind of queries that it implemented based on the structured data. It implemented functions to get all reels. It implemented functions to get players with certain performance, get player information, and get players' results for the different tests. In the actual code, let's walk you through this really quick. So it imported semantic kernel, which is what I requested. It's using the environment variables for my Cosmos DB connection. It has a couple of classes here for the model, for the combined results and player data. Here's the plugin with the different functions and the actual Cosmos DB queries for the different query patterns. And they include descriptions and examples. So let me scroll through all of these tools that it implemented. And here in the main function, here I have the actual agent. This is the semantic kernel agent with a system prompt that it was able to generate out of my instructions and the data from the sample JSON file and the OpenAI Azure Chat Completion service here with again, the connection to the GPT model deployment. This looks really good to me. Let's go ahead and run it. So it will take a few seconds the first time to run. OK. So as you can see, it's a console app. It's saying, welcome to the NFL Combined Data Assistance. You can ask me questions. Let's go ahead and ask one of the questions. Who ran the 40 dash in less than, let's say this time, 4.3 seconds? And pretty cool, it actually worked. So let me show you. It was able to reply that the two players that were able to perform in less than 4.3 seconds. And you see the numbers there and the actual performance. So far, so good. Impressive what we can do with GitHub Copilot, but let's take it one step further. So what we are going to do next is I'm going to ask Copilot to edit this agent.py implementation that we just created. And I want to get rid of the console app, and I want to bring some web UI. So I'm going to say, replace the console with a chatbot UI with Gradio. So basically, I'm telling Copilot that I want to get rid of the console. I want to bring a web experience with the Gradio UI library. The Gradio UI library, it's basically a UI library to implement web interfaces for Python apps. It's used a lot in AI and machine learning applications. So what Copilot is doing here is it's scanning all of the code line by line, as you can see, and it's going to suggest the changes. And it's going to show me the diff, basically the code that we need to remove and the new implementation that brings Gradio and a web interface to the agent. So let's go ahead and keep it. Let's kill the previous app, and let's run this again. And again, this will take a few seconds to run, but this time I hope to see a nice web interface, and we'll see if this works or not. So again, pretty impressive what you can do with Copilot, both in agent mode and edit mode. So there we go. Okay, the UI looks really nice. It's simple, minimalist, but it's still a web experience. It's the NFL data combined data assistant. We have a chatbot component here. We have a text box where we can input the user questions. So let's go ahead again. We'll run the 40 dash in less than, let's say 4.4 now, just for a change. So it's processing, it's going to fetch the data, and there we go. We have an answer from the data assistant in natural language with a list of players that achieved the performance in under 4.4 seconds. So I'm really happy that this worked. It's pretty impressive what you can do with GitHub Copilot nowadays. As a developer, these kind of tools boost your productivity, and if you are not using these tools, you are missing out. So make sure to use this. It's, again, impressive what you can achieve. In terms of the NFL Combine, let me go back to the slides. If you want to dive deeper, there's another session tomorrow where our SOUTHWORKS CTO will be talking more about this and other AI use cases for sports. And we'll be also at the NFL Combine Hub here in the venue, so feel free to stop by, ask questions, and happy to show you more about this. Thank you very much.